Welcome, my friends, to the Red All Over Away Show with me, Andy Simcox. In this show, I'll be talking to friends old and new about their team who are due to face the mighty Reds shortly. We'll cover topics such as their team's formation, style of play, players to watch out for, strengths, weaknesses, their aspirations and hopes for this game and for the future. But before all that, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, a long time ago in the annals of history, a 4-year-old boy was walking down Oakwell Lane, holding tightly onto his dad's hand. He was then lifted over the turnstile and they made their way around the ground to be able to watch the team. His dad put him on his shoulder on the cob so he could watch his heroes such as Barry Murphy, our longest serving player. Fast forward 60 odd years and that hero is still around as an ambassador of the club, and the cob is now an all-seater stand named after the legend, the Barry Murphy stand. That 4-year-old boy is now finally back on the away end. Enjoy the show. Roll the titles. A very warm Red All Over welcome to Craig Priest from Mansfield Matters. Whenever I've seen your podcast, Craig, it's always said Matt at Mansfield Matters HQ. Are you at the HQ now, or have you just decided you're not? So you're just back to being ordinary?
No,
Craig Priest.
Yeah, this is HQ, but we that's all set up on the live stream software that we use, so it's all on there. But the reason that was done is because we used to actually, back in the olden days, back in the good old days, do the podcast all in person. Pre-COVID, every Thursday night it was like a ritual round at my house, and everyone would come round, share a cup of tea, and talk about stags and everything. And then obviously that cold went round, didn't it? And everybody were locked in their houses for a little bit, so we had to sort of jump online. And then a few of the lads decided that they wanted to have kids and that they couldn't get out every Thursday night. No, inconsiderate is what that is. So we ended up finding some software to sort of do it online and broadcast live. So now everybody does it from their own sort of place. And this for me is HQ, my little office at the top of the house. So I tend to bury myself away in here and shut the door and stop the dog from coming in.
Well, I have trouble with cats. I've got 2 cats, and sometimes they try to make a quick guest appearance. So,
oh, he does that. Yeah, he does that all the time. Yeah, he loves it.
If he does, he does. Yeah, Snap. I just said that Snap, Craig. We did very much the same at the local sports bar in Barnsley, or at a working men's club that sponsors us. But COVID hit, and thank God for Zoom. But it's although we do instant reaction shows outside Oakwell at the end of the game if it's a home game, and we do try to do the occasional live show if you say it's. A lot of it's now done on Zoom because of what's convenient.
It's just practically easy. I mean, for me, I was for a while a broadcast journalist and a freelance sort of producer. So actually being able to, work remotely and use all this software, I can record podcasts from here. I've got little sound carts and everything that I can use. It just makes life a lot easier. But don't get me wrong, at least once a month, I try and get everybody together who's available to come round and do at least one a month in person, because it does make a bit of a difference. And Christmas is that's a non-negotiable. We have the Christmas show and the end of season show have to be in person, but other than that, it's if you can get on, log on. If you can't, you can't. It's one of them now.
Well, I wanted you to start off by telling us all about your podcast, but only to be showing off that I'm a journalist and I know this and I've got this and I've got that card and I've got that card. I don't want to know any of that nonsense. If it helps you, it doesn't impress me.
Well, no, it is what it is. No, all right, Shania Twain, pipe down.
Well, I'll tell you what. Anybody that's watching this, the 3 or 4 that will finish up watching this, put in the comments if you were impressed by Craig's credentials.
I'm not impressed by my credentials, and I don't do it anymore either, so it doesn't count.
I'm only kidding. You know, I'm only kidding, Craig. Tell us about your podcast, please.
So Mansfield Matters, it goes way, way, way back. So when we were in the dusty old non-league times, I did an apprenticeship at a community radio station and had to set up a weekly phone-in show, and we called it Mansfield Matters. And we ended up doing match day commentary when nobody else would do it. And then we got promoted out into the Football League, and that stopped for a while. Throw forward to maybe a couple of years later when we had Big Steve Evans in charge of the Stags. There was a group of us. There was myself, a friend of mine called Nathan, who had just literally gone completely blind. He'd been losing his sight for a few years and woke up one morning and just was in complete darkness. And football was his sort of thing, and he wanted a reason to keep going and to sort of get out of the house. So we decided to do a podcast together. Then another lad, Cam, sort of jumped on board, and over the years we've added faces. Others have gone away. Like Nathan doesn't come on much anymore. He's now got 2 young kids. Cam's got a young kid. So we've added faces over the years, and it's basically been just about us getting together as a group every week, and just sort of talking all about football. None of us drink, so for us this is our pub. We have a cup of tea, and have a biscuit, and we have a laugh, and it's our sort of way to maybe get out of our partners here for an hour or so, and just talk all about the fortunes, often misfortunes of our beloved Mansfield town. Really.
Do your partners know that it's just an excuse to get away from them?
Oh yeah, they're glad of it. They're glad of it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
My next question.
I often get from my missus, "What night are you doing the podcast?" Because I've got some TV to watch. So yeah.
I have exactly the same. Exactly the same. My wife's happy for me to do it on a Tuesday when she's out, but any other day, and we rarely do it on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's usually it's usually a Wednesday, or as today, Monday. So just let me explain to people who'll be watching this thinking what the hell's going on. This has been recorded on the Monday night, so it's before Mansfield's game away to Exeter, which is tomorrow. So any stats or talk is not taking the Exeter game into account whatsoever. So don't get too confused. I know it's not easy in Mansfield to not get confused. Remember, I've got family there, but don't get too
What am I doing here?
confused.
Where am I again? I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly that. As you very well know, Craig, I have got in-laws. A lot of my wife's family come from Mansfield and are based in Mansfield and live in Mansfield. So I've personally got a soft spot for Mansfield. My niece Emma and her daughter, my great niece Izzy, are massive Mansfield Town fans. And it's fair to say that the first match of the season, Izzy gave me some right stick. So I'll be hopeful to be able to return the favour a little bit to her. What makes it worse is that Emma's husband Andy and her son George, Blackpool fans, which is painful for me after what happened last week. So please, all I'm asking, I know you'll think differently, Craig, but all I'm asking is, please, God, don't let lightning strike twice in a week for me. It's more than I can cope with. I can cope with George being clever this week, and he was, Craig. But I can't cope with Izzy being clever, because she will be. So I would sincerely hope that she gets a comeuppance. I'm hoping that I might see one or both of them at the match, because we're coming to the match.
Yeah.
So as I've said, I like Mansfield. They're a team I watch for and watch out for and what have you. I've been a few times, even when Barnsley's not played. So pleased for them. Pleased for them to get promoted last year, and all the best for this season. I thought you were going to crack it this season. You started off like a train.
No.
Dropped off. So tell us about how it's been going then, Craig.
I think that's a common misconception. I think from this season, people have sort of saw us start really, really well and get a little bit of momentum. But that's all it was. It was just momentum from the previous season, which we just took in and just got going. We were always going to suffer at some point. Mansfield, historically under Nigel Clough, have always been hit with injuries, and unfortunately for us, they don't tend to come one in one game, one in the next. They all sort of hit us, like London buses. They come along 3-4 at once, and at the moment, I think we've got like 9 players out, and probably about 6 of them are regular starters as well. So it makes a huge, huge difference to your campaign. And then you look at the age of our squad as well. Nigel Clough, he doesn't like signing players under the age of 30. So we've got a lot who are on, a lot who are sort of on the edge of the careers. And I think at this level, a few players have been found out a little bit with pace and and injuries and a few other things like that. So that's sort of done us. And also Nigel Clough is very much of a manager who he just goes on runs, and that can be a really successful run like we've had in previous seasons, or a really bad run. There's no in between with him. And unfortunately, in the minute, we've, up until maybe 3-4 games ago, we were, losing game after game after game. We're unbeaten in 3 games now, 3 successive draws, which has helped us turn a little bit of a corner. But we know there's a lot of work to do. So that early start was key for us. I think there are 2 key components to why we were decent at the start of the season. I look at the opening game against you guys as a bit of an anomaly. We could have been playing Barcelona that game. Anybody we could have played and we would have beat them because we just were ready for it. We'd waited so long to get to that next level. Anybody that you put in front of us, we were just going to roll over that game. And then the biggest thing for us was actually selling DKD to you, because that changed us. What it made us do was sit back and go, right, well, we've not got the player to play in that position, and we tried it for a few weeks. It didn't work, and we were getting exposed all over the pitch. So we changed to a back 5, and then we became tighter as a defence and went on that run, which really took us up, flirting with the playoffs a little bit. It's only really because of injuries and, personnel being missing. Lee Gregory's a massive one where we sort of dropped off. And it's only in recent weeks where we've changed formation again, which is starting to suit us with the players that we've got available. And again, we've slowly turned a corner. But for us, the ambition was never to go and compete at the top end of the table. It remains as it did on the opening day of the season before a ball was even kicked. The ambition and the goal this season is to finish 5th from bottom. Anything above that is a bonus. Just stay up. We didn't do that last time. Just stay up and build.
Yeah. Well, obviously, because what I've already told you, I sincerely hope you do. I didn't realise you were talking about Mansfield for a minute when you were saying you couldn't buy a win and you've got 9 players injured. Because so have we. So have we, first teamers as well. So I think it's going to be a reserve match on Saturday.
It could well be, yeah.
So tell me about your formation and style, because I know what I think it is under Nigel Clough, but it might be doing it different for you.
Well, you tell me what you think it is under Nigel Clough, and I'll tell you whether you're on the money or not.
Well, I think sometimes with Nigel is when he was at local clubs here, like at Sheffield and what have you, United, people thought it was dour, and there weren't much attacking flair, but it was much more solid. He built from the back, but there wasn't the same sort of flair and excitement going forward. And to be honest, that was the same in his post-match interviews as well.
Yeah.
It went on a bit, but I used to listen to him driving home from our match, and I'm glad I had coffee at the game because I could have dropped asleep while I were driving. I don't want to be. I like Nigel Clough as a manager, and if Nigel Clough had ever become Barnsley's manager, I would not be upset with that. So
yeah.
I'm not being awful about him. It's just that's how it comes over. That sort of.
To be fair, I don't think you're that far wrong. We do set up to be solid at the back, because what he says is we go into games to get a result, and what is a result? A result stems from keeping a clean sheet, so you have to be tight. You look at the way in which we won promotion last year; it was built on being solid at the back with players like Aidan Flint and Lewis Brunt, who's now at Wrexham. They got a nice little pairing with each other as well. Bailey Cargill, another one. It was all built about being solid at the back and building and playing through midfield. Obviously, Davies Keeler-Dunn was a massive, massive part in the way we played at the top of the diamond, and his goals were, without which we'd have been nowhere near. But what Nigel Clough does very well is it is frustrating to watch sometimes. It doesn't always have that attacking flair, but something's coming. And over the years, you do get used to it being a little bit more stripped back, a little bit more patient, and a little bit more. Things might not be cut and thrust. You might not come out of the traps, like a whippet. But what you will do is you will slowly build and gather momentum. And it's all about chipping away at teams and breaking teams down. And the way he does that is, he preferred in League Two, he preferred to go with a 4-4-2 diamond with Davies Keeler-Dunn, obviously when we had him at the top of the diamond, and Lewis Reed at the bottom of it. We tried that this season, obviously, which worked quite well in the opening game. When we lost Davis, it didn't work. We changed to a back 5 and tried to play through midfield and trying to sort of get it into Lee Gregory, which when he was fit and available was great. But you look at the run we went on in November, where we didn't win a game for 5. He was injured for pretty much all 5. So
Yeah.
it says all you need to know. And then in recent games, we've changed to a 4-3-3,
Okay.
just to be a little bit more on the ball. We're still sturdy in defence. We've got key players missing, but we've critically brought Deshi Ojalaja, or Dave as we call him on the podcast, because it's easier. And other people have picked up on that now as well. Dave at the back is a absolute rock for us, and he just keeps a little bit tighter, which allows us to play through midfield, and we can try and get the ball wide to, Lucas Akins, Jordan Bowery on the right hand side, whoever he chooses to put out there. Probably be Bowery, because Akins is out injured at the moment, and Bowery is getting a bit of a nosebleed being up there, because this year has been a centre. Well, and the last two and a half seasons has been a centre back or a right wing back for us. So it's been interesting to see a number 9 playing in the back. And then on the left hand side, we've got little Caelan Vickers on loan from Brighton, who's a real good talent. I think he's as close to Davies Keeler-Dunn as we could have hoped for. So at the moment, we've slowly turned the corner, but like yourselves, we probably lack that killer instinct in front of goal. And if we go 2 goals behind, we're probably not going to get it back into the game. So our best chance is to try and stay as tight as we can at the back.
You see, statistics often mean nothing at all.
They're not.
Damn statistics. No. I mean, you could say the last 9 games, you've not won. You've drawn 4. 13 games, you've not won, but you've drawn the last 3. And I know it's not a win, but we've been losing them and all.
Yeah.
So drawing the last 3 as a step forward, it's a step in the right direction. And now you've got Jordan Rhodes, who, we have links because his dad used to be a goalkeeping coach at Oakwell. So a lot of us wish we'd got Jordan Rhodes. But for you, we thought, is he too old, isn't he? I don't know. But for you, he's one of the youngest, isn't he?
Well, pretty much. But the thing about that is he won't play. I don't know what it is. He's not in. Nigel Clough, as a manager, has his favourites and he has his preferred order of the way he does things. And Jordan Rhodes is probably 4th choice in terms of strikers. So he's been brought in with this fantastic goal-scoring record, and I was quite excited on deadline day when we brought him in. But as soon as I saw him not start and listened to what Clough said, I just knew he was here to sort of make the numbers up and be a bit part player.
He scored an equaliser, didn't he?
Yeah.
A late equaliser at Stevenage last match.
Yeah, he did what he came to do, came off the bench and scored a good goal. But I've literally before this, I listened to Nigel's press today, and he basically said, yeah, that's what he brought him here to do. Get him off the bench, get us a goal when we need one, and that's it. And there'll be no change. So as much as we'd love to see him start, unless we get more injuries, he ain't going to start, which is a real shame for him and for us, I think.
It seems, I mean, from afar, and obviously I don't know the ins and outs of it, to have nine injuries of first team players and Jordan can't get a game, that doesn't sound right to me. I don't know. You probably much better.
No,
it's odd to me.
It is very odd. But again, we've got a lad called Ben Wayne on loan from Plymouth Argyle, who's a New Zealand international, and he gets nowhere near it. I mean, to be fair, I don't think he's up to scratch anyway, but it was proven that Nigel Clough didn't really favour him, because in one game we finished the match with a strike partnership of Jordan Bowery, who is actually listed as a defender now, and Stephen McLaughlin, who's a left back up front. So that just says it all, rather than use him. But Nigel Clough has strange quirks. We call them Cloughisms, and do you know what? Nothing surprises us anymore under Nigel Clough. It's do you know what? I'm all for it. After it's brought us success, and as long as it keeps us up, more please.
Yeah. Tell us about but Barnsley fans will know a little bit about Mansfield because of that first game. But tell us now we've got Davies off you. He's not your danger man. Tell us who we ought to watch out for. All of us that's going or wherever. Who should we keep an eye out and worry about, really?
It's definitely Caelan Vickers, the lad on loan from Brighton and Hove Albion. He's a really good, tidy player, likes to get on the ball. We either play on the left, the right, or down the middle. He's predominantly in the last couple of games played on the left-hand side for 60 minutes and then switches to the opposite flank. He's got quick feet. He likes to drive with the ball. He's very much almost a carbon copy of Davies Keeler-Dunn. Right. The only thing he lacks in his game at the moment is goals, because he doesn't quite get shots away. But he's still a young player that's sort of progressing. 1 minute he'll take players on, the next he'll look for a pass. It's just all about how we get momentum as a team. But we have to get him the ball. If we don't get him the ball, he stays a little bit too far forward and he becomes a little bit isolated. So I'd probably say him. And I think the other one to watch is Dave at the back. Deshi Oshalaja. He's an absolute rock.
What's
He's
that again?
calm.
This what? Dave? What did you say his name was?
Dave. We just couldn't call him
Dave. All
Dave.
right, we'll just go
Call
with
him
that
Dave.
then again.
You'll hear people shout, "Well up, Dave!" And that's usually us. Dave at the back for us, he's absolute colossus. He's the coolest man on the planet. He could be in a burning building on the very top floor and go back to sleep for 10 minutes and then walk out like nothing's happened. He's the coolest, calmest man on the planet. And that defensively helps us because he'll bring the ball down, he'll look for a header, he'll look at like the next 2-3 phases in play, and that's really what gets us ticking. So for me, it's Vickers and Dave.
What about weaknesses? And I
Oh, we've
promise
got
you,
plenty of that. We've got
promise
plenty
you,
of
I'll
them.
not tell anybody. This is literally just between me and you.
Oh,
Nobody
plenty of
else.
them. Our weakness is fitness. It's pure and simple fitness. Like I mentioned earlier on in the show, we've got players who are over a certain age, which it upsets me because I'm 34 and I'm thinking if I'm a footballer, I'm about ready to retire now, which is which is a real shame. But we don't have the legs past a certain point in the game. Probably after an hour, we start to struggle. And that's mainly due to injuries. Sort of, a lot of our players perhaps haven't had a pre-season. Elliot Hewitt, if he's fit and available, he had a bad injury a couple of seasons ago and hasn't really properly recovered. So gets to probably 60, 65 minutes and struggles. George Williams is a fantastic player for us, but he's had a few personal issues. Obviously, everyone knows about George Baldock, who was his teammate at MK Dons. George Williams has missed a lot of games, a lot of training because of that, and that obviously has a bit of an impact of you on the pitch. So struggles after 60, 65 minutes. Stephen Quinn, obviously, a
Yeah.
legend of the game, and for us is an absolute legend as well. Everyone will remember that goal he scored at your place, an absolute perler. But unfortunately, that's probably been his peak. He's dropped off the edge of a cliff since then. But again, age catches up with you. He's not played as many games. He's lost that momentum. And now, whereas he used to be good for 60, 65 minutes to come off, now he's good for 10, 15 minutes coming on, if that. And that's had a real impact on us. So for us, I'd say it's a combination between pace, injuries, and getting in behind. Because if you get in behind, if we get sucked up a little bit higher up the pitch, when we've not got Dave in that back four or back five, we really do struggle to mop things up. So they're the three areas that we're a little bit weak.
You've cheered me up, not about the weakness, you've cheered me up a lot, Craig, because Jordan Rhodes not starting because he always scores against us. Always. Lee Gregory being injured, he always scores against us, and he's an excellent, love Gregory, right
Yeah.
player. A player that you want in your side. You don't want to play against, but you want in your team. George Williams used to play for us. He played for us at Wembley when we won the playoffs against Millwall. Great, lovely player for us.
Phenomenal player. I love
Played
him.
left back for us, but
Yeah.
I know he's right back. But followed his career because he's a right player.
Yeah,
He's
I've
a really
every time he's
tidy
played
player.
for us, I've absolutely loved him. He just gives everything. He reads the
Yeah,
game superbly well, and for someone that's about 4 foot, he can jump, and
yeah,
he's a
yeah.
really good servant for us. And I would love to see him play more games, but obviously with everything off the pitch, your mindset comes first and foremost, and I don't mind that at all. He's come back in for us in recent weeks. He think he played Saturday because Elliot Hewitt was out injured, and he's like Jordan Rhodes a little bit. He's second or third choice, but Nigel Clough is used him as his go-to man, and he'll play anywhere in that back line for us. And you just know when you see his name on the team sheet that you're going to get a good performance.
Well, we've got Mark Roberts, our centre half, who's 34, who came back to us.
Don't tell Nigel Clough we'll sign him.
I know, came back to us from being successful with us, went to Birmingham and spent a bit of time injured. He's come back and you wouldn't know he was 34. People thought, has he lost his pace? Has he lost his pace? He's still a good player.
Yeah.
So I looked, and because you got Scott Flinders in your goal, I thought he packed in about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Because
Scott,
he used to play for us. He played for us as well.
yeah, Scotty's brilliant. So I feel really, really sorry for Scott Flinders because he is number 2, and Nigel Clough makes no bones about that. He says, no, Christy Pym is my number 1, but Scott Flinders is a great backup and bring him in. Christy Pym at the moment is injured. He was also in a little bit of poor form and was dropped for the first time ever under Nigel Clough a few weeks ago, and since has got injured in training. So we've got young Owen Mason on the bench, but Scott, great goalkeeper, always puts in a performance for us and could easily walk into any League One or League Two side and be their first choice. He's a top keeper.
Yeah, I think he is. when I was looking through your last, the team that's at Stevenage and on the bench and what have you, oh, gobsmacked, just like you said. Oh, it's like Dad's army. It
Yeah.
makes me feel a bit younger than, well, not a lot younger than I am, but maybe a year or so younger than I am. But I'm gonna tell you how it pans out. You've been talking about how you start games and how you finish games. I swear to God, you're not talking about Mansfield. You're still
I
talking about
know.
Barnsley. So I think the game will start off really steady because you'll try and work your way into the game. We'll try and work out into it. So it'll be like walking football for the
I
first
love
15
walking
or 20
football.
minutes.
My dad used to
Then
play that for a while. I love that.
then we
I used to
might
join in because that was about my fitness level.
then both teams might start thinking, well, we've got to do something because we're all just walking about. And then we lose
Yeah.
some fitness towards the end of the games, the last 20 minutes. We conceded loads of goals in the last 20 minutes and in added time.
Well,
Conceded a
that's
load.
no use for us. We don't score that. If we don't score early, we ain't scoring. I think the equaliser at Stevenage was perhaps a bit of an anomaly. Although last four games or so, second half we have turned it up a little bit. So maybe we'll wait and see. I think for me it's on the first goal. If whoever
Yeah.
can get a hold in the game in the first 20 minutes is going to be the one.
They've got to get near net, haven't they, if they're going to be walking football and finish with walking football and an actual proper game somewhere in between. So
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting in its own way. So are you looking forward to it though?
I am, yeah. I mean, it's obviously the return of DKD, Corey O'Keefe, of course,
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
still with you. Nigel Clough rated him, but when Nigel came in, Corey was on big money, and unfortunately, we weren't playing wing backs then. And we could, oh my God, if we had him now, I think he'd be superb for us. I rated him a lot as a player. Obviously, lots of different connections. So Bobby Hassel, of course, in
Of
your
course.
academy setup. What a lovely man he is. I had the pleasure of interviewing him a number of times. A top man, promotion winner with us as well. Come through our academy, etc. And then, of course, you look at the gaffer, Darrell Clark. I mean, it'll be a tough day for him emotionally. Obviously, with everything that
Yeah,
happened, I don't think he's been back to Mansfield since.
yeah,
I think he sort of said in an interview, might have been with the Daily Mail not long after that, Mansfield's not a place that he particularly wants to come back to because that was where his daughter,
of
God rest
course.
her, was from and everything, and it sort of brings back memories. But Darrell is very much a manager that if we were looking for a new manager and he was willing, I would have him at the club because I think he has brought success to teams in different divisions. He's a great success starting out at Salisbury and then at Bristol Rovers, etc., etc. Um, but I don't know. It's an interesting one, but he'll get a lovely reception. One of my vivid memories, obviously, we lost to his Port Vale side at Wembley,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
sore subject. But in the 8th minute, obviously, he wore number 8 for us when he was starting. Everybody applauding. It all came from the Mansfield fans. It was a lovely moment. See him in tears on the touchline, and I was actually doing commentary for the local radio station at the time, and my co-commentator had also lost his daughter
you're showing off
about
again, aren't you?
I'm
Showing off
not
again.
showing up. I'm not. I'm just. This is a story about Darrell Clark. So it
All
was
right. Not yet.
largely
Not.
relevant. So, and the guy that I was doing commentary with had also lost his daughter. Probably not even a year
Yeah.
before. And I looked across at him, and he's sobbing in the commentary box. I looked down at the pitch, and Darrell Clark struggling. It was just a really emotional
Yeah.
moment. And do you know what? I never say this about teams beating Mansfield, but we were nowhere near good enough on the day at Wembley. But I'm so glad that Darrell Clark was manager of Port Vale that day and he got that reception. So looking forward to welcoming him back and hopefully most of our fan base remember the good things that DKD did for us as well because it's so often, isn't it, when a player signs for a rival club in the division that he gets a load of stuff. I know he got a little bit on Twitter and stuff when he left. I completely understand why he did what he did to try and push on, for his career and a bigger wage, etc., etc. I've got no problem with any footballer doing that because it's such a short career span. I just hope that people give him a good reception. What I would always say is, if he gets sort of subbed off at any point in the game, I will be one of those home fans that does stand and applaud him
Yeah.
because he is a massive part of why we are where we are in League One, and we have to remember that and thank him for it. So be a good game, be a good afternoon.
That's lovely to hear, Craig. And you're right. If you're gonna lose any final, it was a good person to lose
Yeah,
against. So
yeah,
for that, DKD, if it helps you, has been playing pretty well. We've not been playing particularly well as a team, especially with the injuries. But anyway, DKD's been playing more of a striker rather than an attacking midfield player. He's been one of two up there. He moves about a bit, like like I think you've
I find he's not
alluded to.
as effective when he plays as an out and out forward. He's much better in the
No,
diamond because he did it a fair few
yeah,
times for us as well.
yeah.
But he scored scored the odd goal, but his movement wasn't as good. He wasn't as good at getting on the ball and driving you from box to box. So I'll be delighted if it plays up front, but it'd be interesting to see who marks him.
You get you get Dave maybe.
Well, he didn't play with him really, so he didn't really have too much time. But it would be interesting to see if we start with Aidan Flint or Bailey Cargill, or I don't know. We've got a long time before then.
Going to be an interesting game, and I can't wait for it. I mean, you've got another game to wait for, aren't you? First,
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. I mean, fortunately, I can't get out of work. You need essentially 3 days off if you go into Exeter, don't you, on a
long
Tuesday
way.
night? So unfortunately, can't make it. But yeah, good luck to those who do go down there. But it's a big game for us. I'd argue actually that the Exeter game is bigger for us at the moment in terms of how our season's going to pan out than what it will be taking you guys on, because we're so close in the league table. If we can get a
Yeah,
win on them, it puts a bit of a buffer on, and it sets us up for the last 10 games. So yeah, big night Tuesday night, and
it's a trick and a half, isn't it?
it is a track and a half. I've done it
Midweek.
on midweek as well. It's not
It's
nice.
And I'm thinking, for the fans coming back at whatever time they'll get back, the players as well. I mean,
Yeah.
from a Barnsley perspective, that's all right. Come back and be tired, and because
No,
we've not got a game, and
I
we
guarantee
need a
they'll be in a
break.
hotel. They'll be in a hotel on Tuesday night. They won't travel
We'll
back
come
Tuesday
back,
night.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
they'll be down there now. They'll be probably be halfway down there now. They'll have a bit of light training somewhere en route tomorrow, and then they'll probably stay, Devon way Tuesday night and travel back Wednesday. They'll have Thursday off and a bit of shape work on Friday. We can't afford to do any training because we can't afford to risk anyone getting
can't
injured.
no,
So,
no.
you know, I don't think
Oh,
clubs need to train at this time of year anyway. You've done all your work. You do all your work sort of, June to sort of October time, don't you? This is about ticking over and just doing shape work, looking at set pieces, doing
that,
more of the analyst work. And
yeah.
Nigel Clough knows that as well. So, he's not daft. He's not naive. We're managing
If,
what we've got.
if they're not fit now, it's a bit late to try and get fit, isn't it? Really.
Very true.
Oh, so anyway, we'll see. Right, that's lovely. What I'm going to do with your indulgence, Craig, is I told you before we started, we've got two young men, George and Isaac, who are the twin sons of our treasurer and erstwhile photographer and editor of our instant reaction shows when we have home games at Oakwell, when we stand outside immediately after the final whistle, and we're either elated or in the depths of despair. There's no,
No middle ground. Yeah, I get it.
there's very little middle ground. You try to be balanced, but no,
Nah.
because it's good. It's a bit warmer, but when it's freezing cold and it's windy and rainy, no, sod balance.
Yeah.
That can come when you review it properly a few days later. So them two, they think they're going to take over Red all over. They're like Ant and Dec. They think, myself and Alan Smith, the two old codgers, they think that they're little Alan Andy, like Ant and Dec, little Alan Andy. So they insisted, and it's, with great regret, and I'm so sorry to put you through this, with great regret, they want to ask you some questions, and this is for you. One's about the team, about the club, but rest of it's about you. So it's going to be Craig Priest in the hot seat. It's going to be like
Okay.
mastermind. So I'm going to put them on now for their very first question, and I can only apologise.
Who's your tumble down, Ted? The one that's going down in the box like he's been shot by a sniper.
Oh, it's an interesting one. I would probably say under Nigel Clough, we don't have too many, or we don't have one specific person, because Nigel Clough hates it. He goes absolutely mentally. His mantra is, if you can get a shot away, get a shot away. Don't be going down, without no reason. If you get contact, then fair enough, go down. But if you can get a shot away, first and foremost, get a shot away. So it would only usually be the strikers. I would probably say Lee Gregory would have been the one most likely to. Will Evans will probably be the one at the moment. I think Caelan Vickers has probably got the potential to, but I think he likes to dance around on his feet a little bit too much. So if I had to say one person will be tumble down, Ted, I'll say it's going to be Will Evans.
Okay, that's lovely. Right now, I'm going to put them on for the second question, and you'll be fed up with it by the end of this. You'll be absolutely fed up about it.
What is the one game that you would like to relive again?
It's a tough one. I
You can
alluded
have
to it.
more than one if you want, Craig.
I
Have a
alluded to
couple.
it earlier. Obviously, the Port Vale game in the playoff final was special for me because I was obviously commentating for my local radio station, who basically given me a start in my career. So that meant a lot to me to be able to go from doing work experience and work my way through to be able to then go to go to Wembley and be the lead commentator there. I'd love to relive that game, but alter the score because I would love to go through it having won that game or having performed better in that game. Because that was also the last time that I picked up a microphone and commentated. So I felt like I ended on a bit of a damp squib, if you like. So possibly that game in terms of if I was able to change the outcome, it'd be that one. But for me, it would be a toss-up between the game at the end of last season at MK Dons where we absolutely turned them over and we knew that we were going to get promoted because before the game we'd had a bit of a stumble. They were chasing us again. It was almost like reminiscent of a few years earlier where they beat us on the last game of the season to knock us out of the automatic promotion spaces. We turned them over 4-0 last year. I think it was, and we did really, really well, played really well, and it was just a great day out. Like me and a couple of the Mansfield Matters lads, we had a nice Nando's before, we had a good laugh. It was one of those days, but I have to caveat it as well with the game after that, the Accrington game. My dad doesn't go to away games much anymore. We were away at Morecambe one year, and there were a couple of exuberant fans behind him, and who celebrated when we scored and ended up pushing him 3 rows down. And he's been a little bit, he's in his late 60s, 70s now, and he's not. That sort of put him off a little bit. He doesn't walk very well either, so he only comes to home games. So obviously the Accrington game where we did seal promotion, it'll make me choke up thinking about it. Was really special to sort of be alongside him and go, we've actually seen us get promoted, and just sort of, we're not really a touchy-feely sort of family, but to share a hug afterwards and look out on the pitch and just, that's what bonds us together. Was just, I'd love to relive that moment. You made me go now.
No, I understand more. More than you think. My dad, he got me involved in football, Craig, and sadly, when I was 19, he died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
A number of years later, obviously the game in '97 when we got promotion to the Premier League the first time, he should have been there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Me off now, but I had my wife, my son, and my daughter with me, so. And I've passed that on, so now I go with my son to games with my son and two of my grandsons.
It's what you live for. We talk week in, week out, we talk about wins and losses and draws, but what you live for is those magical moments, whether it's with your parents, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with your friends. That's ultimately what binds us, and it's those things which we take away. When we're later on in life, which we look back on and reflect on and go, we might have lost that game like 2 or 3-0, but actually I had a really great day because I had a mate with me and I was doing this, and it's those little things which make the difference. It's not always about the result.
No, it always scares me, Craig, because whenever Barnsley score, and I don't win, lose, or when Barnsley score, we sit at the top of the family stands, the top of the big East stand, and every time Barnsley score, it's a group hug, and we're right at the top of the stairs. And I know one of these days, and they'll let me. One of these days, I'm going tumbling down. I'll be tumbled down, Ted, all the way down. And you know what? They'll watch. They won't stop me. They'll watch. So I've got little faith in that. Well, those are the moments. That's why we go to football. It's not just about the football; it's about the family. So don't think I don't appreciate it, because I fully do. I'm going to put them on for the penultimate question. Now, for Mansfield fans, penultimate means next to last. I'm only kidding. Don't take on. It's only a joke. I don't want hassle in the comments. Right, next to the last question. So here's the little scamps to ask their third question.
Who is the best player that you have ever seen play for your club?
Again, there's so many for so many different reasons that I can choose from. So in terms of like my childhood heroes, I've got 2. So we had a player called Neil Mackenzie, who wasn't the best footballer on the planet at all, but a lovely guy, and I think was ever the first ever footballer to go on Countdown as well. I think he holds that sort of thing. But I just remember, I wasn't there, but I watched it back on the highlights as a young impressionable teenager. played Hull City away the last time. I think we might have been in League. No, it would have been it would have been League Two. What was League Two when we got to the playoff final in 3 or 4? Either League Two or League One. I can't remember. Anyway, but ball comes from on the edge of the box. He always used to stand on the edge of the box for corners, and he rifled it in, cleanest hit you've ever seen, top corner, like from 40 yards. And I used to spend afternoon after afternoon after school on Preston Road Field trying to recreate that goal. And the amount of footballs that I put in people's gardens was just unreal. And then my other childhood hero was the goalkeeper, Kevin Pilkington, who one of my heroes growing up. He was the captain. Again, I had the pleasure of interviewing him a few years ago. Really lovely guy. Now at Luton, I think, as goalie coach. Top man. Really good goalkeeper. He used to throw himself about everywhere. So I used to throw myself about. I would be the one that volunteered to go in goal, and throw myself about on concrete, on everything, just trying to be him. And I always used to say, nobody's beating me. Nobody's beating me. And that was the attitude that I had. So those two in terms of childhood heroes. In terms of best players that I've seen pull on a Mansfield shirt, I've got two, and both of them have got Barnsley connections. Obviously, one is Davies Keeler-Dunn because of the impact that he had in terms of turning us around and getting us promoted, and the goals and contribution that he scored. Just what he could do at that level, you always knew he was destined for better things. So it's him, but ultimately it's Adam Murray. Without a shadow of a doubt, Adam Murray. Yeah. He's had 4 or 5 spells at Mansfield, came to us as a young, impressionable teen on loan from Derby the last time we got promoted out of League Two. Came in last sort of, 15 games or so, scored a hatful of goals and was great. 3 or 4 spells later, he ended up coming back when we were in the conference, captained us at Wembley and captured us to promotion as well. Fantastic guy. Went on to be our manager. Sadly, didn't quite work out for him because it was his first managerial job and what have you. But has since gone on to, be with you guys as an assistant and, cut his managerial teeth as well. What he's doing with Eastbourne at the moment is absolutely fantastic. Some of the football they're playing is definitely 2 levels above where they are. He'll definitely get back in the Football League at some point. But he was an absolute wizard on the pitch. He could tackle, he could win a header, he could run. And he just bled amber and blue. He had Mansfield Town in his sleeve, and I've got a couple of vivid memories of Adam Murray. Again, I remember losing in the playoff semi-final one year against York City, and he won Sponsors Man of the Match. And that season, he'd had a load of injuries and was absolutely knackered. And my commentary position, if you've been to One Call Stadium, was where the PA box is. So you have to go up there, then up the stairs to go up to the sponsors lounge. And he got man of the match and came up and he slumped in these chairs next to me. And he used to call me Squirrel because I used to do like work experience and stuff there. So I knew him a little bit. And he goes, Squirrel, I'm absolutely gone. I can't do it anymore. I don't know what to do. I can't drag myself up there to go and do this interview. And he just sort of took a minute, took a breath. And he just looked around the pitch and just went, no, that's not what we do. Next year, we're getting promoted as champions. Got up, went and did his interview, come back down and he just went, you watch. Bumped into him, obviously, like doing the commentary and stuff. And the exact year after, same scenario. We just beat Wrexham. He's coming up to the director's box or whatever to do his interview. And he just went, told you. He's just that sort of guy. And he's just a lovely fella, and I've got a lot of time for him, and he'll do superbly well.
That's absolutely lovely. There's some lovely stories there, Craig. Many thanks for them. It would be nice to finish there because that's finishing on a high. but little Alan Andy, I've got one final question, and I can only say it's a bit of a cheeky one, so I can only apologise, not on their behalf because they don't care. The little scamps, they're 11. Why do they care? They think they know everything. So, well, actually, one of them predicted Barnsley would lose 3-0 last Saturday. So George ain't wrong, little Al ain't wrong, because he knew what he were talking about. So I'm going to be interested to see what he says for this Saturday coming. So I'm going to put the pair of them on for the final question.
Why don't you support a good team? Yeah, like Liverpool or Manchester City. Or best of all, Barnsley.
If your parents have never taught you anything, it's that the best club is always on your doorstep. Stay true to your heart, stay true to your home, and that's why I support Mansfield Town. When I was a kid, like I wasn't massively into football. It wasn't really a me thing, and my dad did that stereotypical thing of trying to get me some friends and sort of get me included the group. He decorated my room in Manchester United colours, and I just went, I don't like that. And he took it down, and years later, I ended up going to watch Mansfield Town, and I think he sort of gave me a wry smile one day and just went, I knew you'd find proper football one day, son. And that's exactly why I do it. They're my home team. I was born here. The club means a lot to me. It's been a big part of my life for various reasons, whether it's meeting friends, whether it's meeting, partners, whatever that may be. It's just always been there. And I think my advice to any young supporter is don't get dragged in by your TikToks, your YouTube clips of all that. That's not proper football. If you could go around your Old Traffords, your Etihads, your Emirates, whatever stadium in the top flight, and I can guarantee you this: there'll be people in that stadium that sit like on the next row to each other. They won't talk to each other. They won't form friendships because it changes every single week. You come to watch a club like Mansfield or Barnsley or any lower league club, you get talking because the club binds you. That's how you form friendships. That's how you form conversations. And ultimately, it's how you see proper football. We might not be ever Champions League. We might not be winning trophy after trophy. But do you know what? I don't care about that. All I care about is the club being there on a Saturday and being able to go and be with my mates or my dad or whoever and having it there to make those memories. Because I'll tell you this, Manchester United fans, Man City fans, whoever, they won't have the same memories in their hearts as what we've got. Fact.
And so say all of us, Craig. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I ought to just keep that together and put it on its own. That was a lovely, lovely little spiel. Thank you for that. Finally, and it's a shame because I've absolutely loved talking with you. Absolutely loved talking with you. It's been a trip down memory lane. We've reminisced. we both got a bit choked up, but isn't that what football's about? We
It
get
is,
choked
yeah.
up with our memories, and we are thought that's why we go. If you don't feel anything, you don't feel
Yeah.
anything. You don't get it.
There you go.
So
If you don't feel anything, you're a Man United fan. There you go. Done.
I'm taking it that your dad's not a Manchester United fan.
No, not at all. No, he's a
Oh,
Mansfield fan through and through. It was literally that stereotypical thing of who do all the kids support at the
yeah.
time. I mean, when I was a kid, that's when United were at their absolute hype in terms of, treble winners, Fergie, the class of '92 breaking through. So everyone at school was a United fan. So that was the obvious thing to try and make you popular and make you fit in. Couldn't care less. Couldn't tell you any of their players now.
I
Not,
mean,
not a clue.
my son, when he were a young lad and a teenager, he'd go to training. Same to as that's my son's Jonathan. Same as my two grandsons that come to football with us, Noah who's 10 and Jack who's 12. They go to their own football training, wearing the Barnsley stuff, loud and proud,
Correct.
amidst all the
Yeah.
Manchester City, Man United, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United in our area. So they don't care. They'll give it large, and they do. In fact, if Barnsley score, get ready because Noah's coming, and you'll hear Noah scream, "Have it!" at the top of his voice because he does it no matter what. We can be losing 6-0, and if we score, it's "Have it."
Bless
Um,
him. The best way to be.
so yeah, yeah. So we're going to come to the last bit, and I say it's with some sadness, really, that it's about predictions. What you think? What you think the game's? How you think the game's going to turn out?
It's a difficult one for us, but we are desperately in need of a win. Obviously, we're recording this before Mansfield play extra on Tuesday. If we get a bad result in that game in terms of a defeat, it'll just really heighten the need for a win even more. But back on home soil, you throw into the catalyst, the DKD link, and all of the stuff with it as well. It's coming to the last 10 games of the season. We have to turn things round. I think it'll be a narrow game, but I'm going to say that Mansfield are going to edge it exactly like we did at your place, 2-1.
And why wouldn't you think that? Why wouldn't you think that? Well, it might surprise you to think that I'm going to go the exact opposite way around. I was going to go 1-1, but if you're going 2-1, I'm not having that. So I'm
Drawn
going to
too
go.
many games, we need a win.
I know. Well, like I say, it's going to be two reserve teams. But, But I do hope that DKD comes back, and I don't want him to haunt you, but I hope
Oh, he will.
he
He's
shows his
class.
worth.
Yeah,
He's a class act.
yeah.
He'll show his worth.
He'll basically score a goal and he'll just run down our touchline. And he'll just see that Bishop Street stand over there. I paid for that because
Yeah,
that's essentially what his
yeah.
transfer fee did. So
Oh, we've
no,
been there in the past with other players, so I
yeah,
understand that. So I'm going to go 2-1, but I think DKD hopefully, from our point of view anyway, will score. And as a final thing, Craig, to my family, to Emma and Izzy, take your tissues just for if. I told them to take it. I told them to take them for the first match of the season, and Izzy lent me hers, and I needed them. So I hope I'll take a couple, but I hope I don't need to borrow any tissues from either of them. I hope they need them. But may the best team win, mate. And honestly, it's been an absolute privilege to talk to you.
no pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Many, many thanks, mate. Take care.